Welcome to another episode of the Rabbit Hole Podcast. Thank you all for joining us today. We got my guy here with me, Chris Hunter. I am Daniel Horton, and today we're going to dive into some Michigan basketball today. We got Michigan basketball on the slate. We got some Michigan football recruiting, a couple other things we're going to dive into. So let's get started. Chris, what you got for me?
What's good with you, man? How you doing today, man? You good?
Yeah, I'm doing good, man. Doing good. Been a good start today. Got my workout in today.
Yeah, got your pump on.
Yeah, getting some other stuff done. So it's been a productive day. I feel like I'm in the military. What they say, we get more done before 6 a.m. than most people get done all day, huh?
Hey, that's how you do it, man. Start your day off right.
Yes,
early, as they say. If I was in Philly or something, early. Beanie Siegel.
Yes, sir.
You don't know about that. We dating ourselves, though. Yes, sir. Well, let's get into it, man. We talking Michigan basketball, man. We've had 2 games since we last had a show, man, against TCU, right?
Yeah, TCU.
And then we also had Miami of Ohio coming in. So, you know, a lot to talk about, and I think the theme of it, man, when you think about it and you look at this team right now, and everybody's talking about it, is the turnover, margin, and you know, why is that happening? Can it be fixed? You know, what do Dusty and his staff need to do differently, man? So let's dive into that a little bit about, what's your opinions on what you've seen so far with the turnovers, and how can this coaching staff kind of best position this team to get better at it, and do we have the necessary pieces? So stylistically, what we're doing, personnel-wise, what we're doing. Let's just dive into that a little bit, man. What's your thoughts initially?
Man, it with the turnovers, it just depends on. It's a number of factors, right? They want to play faster, right? They want to play at a high pace. They want to get a lot of possessions, and they want to play with good tempo and good ball movement and man movement on once they cross half court. So that means a lot of people are going to be touching the ball throughout the process of getting a shot. And I think with college guys, unless you have superior talent, that's going to lead to some turnovers by itself, right? Between the pace, between the level of talent you have, or the lack of ball handling at this point. Trey Donaldson is really still the only viable, like, primary lead guard you have on the roster right now, as far as guys that you can, like, that can play point guard, basically. So you have some other combo guards out there, but they're not true point guards. So I think that's going to lead to some turnovers, right? Yeah. And I think the newness of those guys only being 4 or 5 games playing with each other, that's going to lead to some more turnovers. So I think this is a perfect storm for, start these games where it's, 15, 16 turnovers. I just think if they don't clean that up by the time conference starts, by the time next week, those games will be over by halftime.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. I mean, it's a gift and a curse with the way Dusty want to play, with the pace and the free-flowing nature of the way these guys want to play. And it's a good thing because, on one hand, you have multiple guys who are handling the ball, so a team can't necessarily key in on one dude and take one dude out of the offense, right? Anybody is getting it, they pushing it, and can make plays. But at the same time, now you got people in positions where they're making plays, maybe in bad spacing because it's a flow offense. It's not set. So maybe a guy didn't get all the way to the corner, or when he cut through, he didn't get all the way to the spot that he needed to get to. And now you're making a play with a guy in a tight window who's trying to play fast and keep the ball moving, to put you in positions to make mistakes and have turnovers like you've seen early on. So it's going to be one of those things where he's going to have to figure out, all right, who are my best guys to put the ball in the hand and make plays. So early on, you're going to, experiment and see that. And now you're starting to get some data and some analytics to see, okay, who can thrive in these situations. And then you're going to have to, ultimately, when that game slows down and you can't get those initial transition buckets, all right, what are we getting into so we can have our proper spacing and our guys can make the proper reads on the court and understand what we're trying to do and still play fast in that nature. So he's going to have to clean up a lot of that stuff with these guys to figure it out. And the question is, all right, is it what we're doing or is it who we're doing it with? What's your opinion on that?
Exactly. Well, I think they have the right group, the right guys. I think they just need to tweak. Now it's not the who they're doing it with. I think it's more it's how they're trying to do it. Right. I,
Yeah.
with let's say I know the hot topic right now is Danny Wolf and the turnovers. He's averaging 5 turnovers per game. Right. He's doing some other things really well. He's averaging 9.5 rebounds and 1.3 steals and 1.5 blocks per game. Right. That shows some activity and some of the versatility that they're speaking of as far as his ability to play different spots on the floor. But I think with him, I think I don't want to say limit to what he can do because they've seen more of him than I have. But I think as far as what I've seen these first 4 or 5 games, I think if he leans more to attacking closeouts, uh, 1-2 crab dribbles into a post up against a smaller guy, posting up out of motion, things like that. I think those he'll be better, right?
But he had 2 turnovers posting up the last game, just traveling in the post. So it's one of those things where, like, I think a lot of it is on him to be able to like feel more comfortable in this new freedom that he's getting. Right? Like, there's been a lot of reports about he feels great about what he's allowed to do. So now you got to prove you can do it. You can't go out there and be turning the ball over. So you got to make the right decisions with the pass. And then when you get those, you can't have these travel turnovers where you posting up and you get a heavy dig or a trap and you shuffling your feet.
That's not comfortability though. That's more skill level then.
I think it's a little bit of both. So so it's one of those things where you got to figure out what he's best at doing, and he's got to get in that lab and say, okay, when I'm in and I'm sure they're going to work on this stuff. When I'm in the post, I can't shuffle my feet and travel when I get a little traffic around me, or when I'm trying to make these dime passes because I see the play and my mind's moving faster than maybe something else. You got to make those sure plays, and you can't make a lot of those 50-50 passes that end up in turnovers. But you see the skill set. Like, the skill set is there. His ability to make plays off the bounce and off the dribble and passes, you can see it, but it has to be refined. 5 turnovers is way too much for any starting big forward or any player, let alone a big guy who's handling the ball. That's way too many turnovers. So whatever you do, you need to get shots at the rim.
When do you dial it? But like, how long do you give him to figure that out? Before
it's now. It's 100% now. We're 4 games in.
Yeah.
We've seen the data, and like 3 games from now, Big Ten starts.
Yeah.
So we got to figure out what we can do to limit those mistakes in the worst way without hindering what he is as a player. But the time is now, and I'm sure the coach has been working on it, but the time is now to start saying, okay, we need to reel this in. The way we need to play fast, but we cannot continue to turn the ball over 18 times a game and think we're going to be successful moving forward in the Big Ten. So the time is now. Yeah. Like, I'm sure they're watching film and like, look, this play you can't make, right? You got to cut down on these plays. Make the sure play, make the easy pass. But these dropping dimes and trying to be Jokic and Magic Johnson, and we can't make those mistakes.
What do you think about a guy like Roddy Gale, who's asked to do a little bit more playmaking and ball handling than he was at Ohio State? He's asked to do a little bit more than to just, be a 0.5 guy and attack closeouts. You see him in pick and roll situations. You see him in isolation situations at the top of the key. You just see him in different situations, like but he's averaging 3 turnovers a game. So he's another guy that's kind of if we had to, I don't want to say point fingers, but if you had to, of the 17, 18 turnovers a game, that's 8 between those 2 guys right there. So what would you think? What do you think about, the adjustments he probably needs to make to his game?
And like you said, those are guys going to have to play heavy minutes, and you're going to rely upon and Danny Wolf and Roddy Gale. So those turnovers definitely have to come down. And for him, it's about learning how to play quick and fast, but don't hurry in those situations. So when you get the ball swung to you or you're handling the ball in those situations where the spacing is not great because we're playing in the flow, and you just got to be a little bit more patient in what you're doing and read the game a little better. Watching the game, I saw some turnovers with guys just trying to reverse the ball quick and not seeing the guy in the passing lane. Or like I said before, you're driving into some bad spacing because we're playing in the flow and that guy didn't get quite to the corner.
Driving back to the way to decide the ball, the way the ball came from.
Exactly. Are you trying to drive into traffic and you're dribbling it off your leg or getting in? So it's one of those, and you want to play fast, you want to play quick, you don't want to hurry, but you don't want to give these live ball turnovers where you're making these multiple plays where you're just giving the ball up to the team. So for him, it's about staying aggressive, but being a little bit more judicious on how much I want to put my head down and just drive into trouble areas. And it's a good learning experience for all these guys are thrust into new roles with new people they're playing with. So it's going to be an adjustment period, for the both the players and the staff. But now is the time. 4 games in, you got enough data, you got enough film, we got enough information from practice and all that stuff, so you can come in and have a plan for, okay, this is what we want to cut down, and maybe as a coach, this is what we want to implement more and run more of to get our guys the proper space. And when we don't have that initial push and transition offense that these guys are lethal at, because when they get into that, they're lethal.
Yeah.
Scoring the ball at the rim and getting guys open looks for 3. So, those 2 guys, like you said, 8 turnovers between them, that's got to come down. If you get 5 less, then you're in business. You're in the 12, 13 turnovers a game range, and that puts you in the, the top half of where you want to be as far as that turnover margin. So those guys got to clean that up, and being thrust into these new roles of being relied upon to create and do stuff, they should be able to do it, but it has to happen now.
Nah, to your point, man, they're averaging 85 a game, just under 86 points per game, 41% from 3, 55% from the field, but 17.8 turnovers a game. You get that down to 12, you're probably averaging closer to 90 points, maybe a little above 90 points per game, and that makes you pretty lethal.
Yeah. Because the way they can shoot and share the ball is really good.
Yeah.
And you can get, they got a lot of guys who can make shots, especially when their offense is flowing. But when you're giving up possessions, and then last game, it was like multiple turnovers in a row after possession, it's like, okay, you can't have those type of mistakes and think you're going to be able to be successful in the Big Ten the way you want to. That just can't happen.
Yeah, if they can continue to defend it the way that they defend, with opponents shooting 37% or somewhere in there per game, to go with those offensive numbers we just stated, they're going to give themselves a chance to do some good things. But what do you think? Another question I got for you: you as a 7-footer that played in this league, right?
Sure.
What do you think about? What's your assessment of Vlad Golden so far? At the moment, he's averaging 6.5 points, 5.3 rebounds, and 55% from the field, right? I think I have an idea what your answer is going to be. So let's what do you think though? What do you think his the things that are kind of hindering his play right now?
Yeah, I think for him, coming from FAU and having a lot of success and being a very dominant presence for him, I think it's a different step up, and it's a different level that you got to get to when you come to this level, right? He has the tools physically to be able to do that. He has the experience to be able to impose his will. But right now, I think for him, it's trying to find that balance between being a really, really good team player as he is, and a guy who can step outside of himself and demand the ball and dominate in some areas. And then when you see him play, it just has to be, as a big, you got to be demonstrative when you're out there. Your presence has to be felt on both ends of the ball, right? Mm-hmm. So when he's diving and rolling, he's got to present himself. He's got to demand the ball. And then when he gets it, he's got to make quality reads and quality shot attempts out there. So sometimes he's getting these drop-off passes, and it's a little awkward finish, or he's missing these bunnies of the layup. One time early in the year, they dropped the pass off to him. He jumped up and hit the bottom of the backboard because he was just in the wrong place. Or he's missing a couple dunks and stuff like that. So it's one of those things where he's got to clean up that footwork. Yeah, he's got to clean up that footwork, that finishing, and he's got to demand that ball better. 6.5 and 5 is not enough for a guy with that much experience and his physical capability. So we're going to need more from him on the defensive end, definitely on the offensive end, because when you have a big guy that you can throw the ball to and get a foul or a quality look, it just settles your team down in those moments when you're frantic and you need a bucket, you need to get settled down. So he's going to have to do better, as well as rebound outside of his area, right? So 5.5 rebounds for a guy playing right now, 22.5 minutes at 7'1", 250. That you should be a double-double machine in this league with his size and skill set. So he's got to be more active on that. When these balls hit his hands, he's got to be able to corral these things and really snatch them out of there and rebound out of his area and go pursue balls off the glass. So it's a lot of areas of growth that I want to see out of him because I think he has it. But I think it first starts in your mind with a little mentality switch on what you're going out there trying to do.
I agree. Speaking of mentality switch, a guy that I wanted to see a bit of a mentality switch from especially from his time at his previous school to Michigan, and after the first couple preseason exhibition games is Trey Donaldson.
Yeah.
And I think I was a bit worried, especially the first about 10, 12, 15 minutes of the first half this previous game, but he turned it on. That he scored, I think he scored 8 straight in the half, and then he came out strong the second half as well.
I know you've been on his head, man. That's your Southern, your PG from the South.
Yeah,
I know you've been on his head.
Yeah, I expect a lot from him, and he's been delivering these last couple games. Really averaging 14, 4.5 assists, 3 rebounds, and shooting 60% from 3. He's been playing pretty solidly, and I think the more I don't want to give the comparison of the person that I see in him, somebody that I competed against and that I remember.
I know where you're going, man. Big stocky point guard. What you talking about? You talking about some Darren Williams? That's where you're going with it.
Like I think he has some potential to affect the game in similar ways that Darren did, and if he continues to play with the same that aggression and that mentality. Yeah. I'm not necessarily just talking about shooting the ball, but just that
controlling the game.
Mentality. Yes, it's control the game, attacking the game. I think the more he does of that, the team turnovers will come down because he'll have the ball more. But B, it's just going to put him and everybody else in much better positions moving forward. And his play and Amari's play so far, I've been pretty impressed with so far. So I think those two guys deserve some kudos for what they've done the last couple of games.
For sure. And before you continue, man, let's get your screen right, man. All I see is your little avatar. You're shooting right in your face, so we got to move you over to the right a little bit, man, so the people can.
Which way?
Yeah, that way. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, because right now
on my screen, I put the avatar in my face.
When I'm looking at it on the recording right now, I got your jump shot is like right in your nose. It's like mouth. I was like, okay, we can't see what you're saying over there. But go ahead. Speaking of Trey and Amari, no, it's been great. It's like for me personally, I'm very happy to see Amari like back into a groove and in a role that suits his skill set, right? Like, last year, I think there was a couple things that, kind of hindered his level of play. First and foremost, coming off injuries and that, it's always that first year back when you're healthy, you're feeling good, but you're not necessarily feeling the best you could feel. So first year back of training out of that first year, I think he did a great job. And then, obviously him with our roster last year, he had to be thrust in a position where he was a primary ball handler a lot of times, and that's just not his natural skill set and ability. So to see him be in this role in a free-flowing offense where he can really play to his skill sets, and he's been playing well. Talked to him early in the year. I mean, he body's feeling great. Went to a practice early in the year. I mean, he looked bouncy and athletic and explosive, looked really good. So it's good to see that second year being fully healthy and now being in a role where I can really capitalize on what I do best, and that's finishing plays, slashing, being a finisher, being a shot maker, and not have to worry about playmaking and distributing. So I'm happy to see him because he's a great kid and a great locker room guy as well. So as one of the, few Juwan Howard era holdovers, it's good to see him and as well as Will Cheddar, playing well and having some success early on.
For sure. No, it applies to those guys. The old Michigan saying applies to those guys as well. Those who stay, right?
Man. Yeah. Those who stay will be champions. And this team, they got a shot, man. It's gonna be tough. This Big Ten. Like we was talking earlier, the more and more we look at these games and kind of, dissect teams and see who they have on their roster and how they project, it's going to be a bloodbath because adding these teams from the West Coast And, some of these other Big Ten teams are retooling and reloading and got talent up the wazoo. I think it's going to be a really, really fun and challenging year in the Big Ten. So, Michigan will be in that mix. Michigan will be in that mix. I know earlier in the year I said surefire tournament team. They'll be in the mix. They'll be in the mix this year. So we'll see how it shakes out. But a lot of these guys going to have to improve, which I'm sure the coaches will get to that point and help them do that.
Yes, sir. I agree.
Defensively, man, I know we had some conversations about defensively. What are your thoughts about this team defensively early on and what you've seen so far? You mentioned earlier that teams are shooting a very, very low percentage overall. Do you think this can continue? Do you think the style of play with switching a lot of stuff and playing aggressively on the ball and handsy and trying to get after the ball, do you think that translates to ultimate Big Ten success down the line?
I think I'm a bit more worried about the defensive end than I am about any turnovers, anything that's going on offensively. For me, there are things that you have to be good at as a prerequisite if you want to be a contending team or a good team in this league, right? Or even a tournament team. I think a couple of those areas we have to get better at, and whether that's guarding the ball without fouling. I think the only non-home game we've played in, we had a number of guys in foul trouble. Now people question officiating or whatever, but that's going to be everywhere, right? Everywhere you travel to, it's going to be, the game is going to be called differently, right? So
sure,
I think especially as you travel from conference to conference or even within the league and you go to certain places, so that has to improve, right? I think the clearing the boards has to improve.
Most
They're giving up 13 offensive rebounds per game. I know you want to play a faster game. There's going to be more possessions since there's going to be more missed shots, but I don't believe that should lead to more offensive rebounds, right? I don't care what the circumstances is. As a coach, you do not want to give up 10-plus offensive rebounds per game. Right?
Yeah, that's a lot. You got to find a way. All this 2 7-footer talk. Those guys gotta clear that glass, and then you got athletic. You got big, athletic wings that should be able to hold their own and get bored. So that's something
you got to gain rebound.
You got to gain rebound, and that's an effort thing, a mentality, toughness, effort thing that you got to emphasize. And these guys can do it, and they will need to do it if they want to be successful in the Big Ten. Because that's not, they got some dudes who are gonna be rolling in here that you ain't gonna be able to just give up 13, 15 offensive rebounds and think it's all right.
Not that and the turnovers. You're going to lose by 20, 30 points in this league. If you get 17, if you give it up, 18 turnovers a game and 13 plus offensive rebounds, come on. It's not going to
give a team 30 extra possessions. Nah. That doesn't work.
No, we got to clean that. I think with those aspects you clean up. And I think some of that, I think now as they move forward as the season goes, you can kind of do more game plan specific defensive stuff, right?
Yeah.
I think for me, from what I've experienced in basketball, what I know about basketball, I think they spend a lot of time leading into the season on offense, right? That's how you come out and look so, as good as they have offensively with a bunch of new guys. I think some coaches come in the first 3 weeks, they focus on, we're going to focus on defense, rebounding, guarding the ball, all of our defensive toughness, physicality. We're going to implement those aspects of our program, of our scheme, of our style of play first. We'll figure out offense as we go, as we recruit players or whatever we'll build our offense as we go. Some guys come in and they're the opposite, right? They're going to lead with their offensive identity. And I think Dusty's done a little bit of that. You can kind of tell that they've emphasized some aspects of playing defense you can tell by their ball pressure.
They get after it. They try to compete. They get after it.
They give heavy ball pressure and they switch everything. So I think the switching is, I'm not a big fan of it. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm not a big fan of it. I think as you play against better teams, as you play against better coached teams, they're going to game plan for you switching everything. They're going to put you in positions that are going to be hard to recover from. So, I see a lot of positives, but I also see a couple of things that can be season killers just because of the conference that they play in. Now, I can't speak for playing in the Pac-12 or the ACC, but turnovers, rebounding, and the overall general lack of physicality in
Yeah.
certain areas, that'll get you beat. So
Yeah, that's gonna get you beat. And when you coming in as a new coach, and I've seen it a couple of times, like you said, you got to figure out how much time you're going to delegate to what. All right, it's gonna have to be an emphasis on what. You got a new staff, new roster. So, like you said, coming into it, if I'm spending more time on my offensive development and that synergy there, then what's going to fall behind is probably that defense. And what's the easiest way? Even now when I'm teaching and coaching youth basketball, instead of trying to teach different screening, hey, switch everything, man. Just call the screens out, switch it, guard the ball. So you can
well,
spend
hey,
less time. If
hey,
I'm
y'all
Dusty, I'm
jumping at
thinking
two,
like,
three, two, three,
yeah,
two, three, two,
I
three.
can spend less time on trying to develop those defensive habits and schemes, and I can spend a lot more time on setting the culture and tone of how we want to play offensively. And like you said, you've seen that early with these guys because they're really, they're sharing, they're moving the ball, they're playing fast, they're shooting it well, making plays. Obviously, we're gonna beat the drum on the turnovers. That's got to come down. But I agree with you. Defensively, you could be as extreme as having a different defensive game plan for every team that you play. And I've been on staffs and been on teams where that's the case. Or you can lean more into having a defensive principled identity where we do what we do, and then we might tweak here and there. And I think Dusty and these guys will lean more to the latter, where they have a defensive kind of principle identity. Where I think switching is going to be a part of it because they've been working on that. But I do think there needs to be some different packages and coverages and what we used to do, with different switching patterns depending on who's out there. Maybe you're not switching 1 through 4, but 1 through 3, that's easy because you got all of these guys are like sizes and 6'3", 6'4", 6'5", and that's doable. But switching 1 through 4 and putting Danny Wolf in some of these positions to guard some of these wings and perimeters may not be the best option for him moving forward. He's shown his ability to to move his puppies a little bit and stay in front and compete in that area. But like you say, that talent level goes up, the game plan and the coaching, everything goes up from there. So you want to put especially him and those big guys in positions to be successful because they mean so much to your team and your ability to win games. So they're going to need to tweak some stuff there too, but it's early on. And like I said, 4 games in, now we got data.
Yeah.
So now we can make some educated decisions when we go in these coaches meetings on how we want to curate and what we want to cut off the list, what we want to add, what we want to emphasize and focus on. So over these next 2 weeks with these 2 games coming up, they'll have a great opportunity to show and prove kind of what direction they want to go in there and what trajectory they can go on with this year. So
can you guard off the bounce or can you rebound, Chris?
Can you rebound?
We'll find out real quick in this conference.
That's true. And more so, I would say in the Big Ten and other conferences, guarding actions. Because you got some teams who really run some intricate, off the ball screening actions and multiple, Purdue being one of those, who got all type of stuff going on. So if you can't navigate all that stuff off the ball and be in the right positions and guard the ball, it's going to be difficult. So, it's going to be a learning experience for all of them. I think, I don't think anybody that's on this current staff has been an assistant coach in the Big Ten. So that's new too. Once you've been in the Big Ten, you kind of learn the tendencies and kind of know what to prepare for coming into the season. We used to have our going into the season, like leading up to it, we got our packages for each team of what their known actions are. So we're guarding those, kind of introducing those actions so guys are familiar with it. And then once we get to game plan, it's not
First time
new.
they've seen
It's not the first time you've seen it. It's more of a review. So I don't know if, Dusty and those guys have done that. If they reach back to, Coach Beeline and other coaches who have been here to kind of have that in their package, or like you said, they focus more on just the offensive side of it, building what we do. So
that puts you in a position to get dictated to, though. That's not a good place you want to be in either. Like when you only have because it limits what you can do. Right. If all thing we're going to do is focus on our principles, how many in-game adjustments and wrinkles, is that going to be a game? Also, is that also going to be a game-to-game thing, or is that something we're going to be continuously working on? That way, we continue to build our package of wrinkles, or our package of quick hitters, or our package of counters, or whatever, because you're gonna need those as conference play starts because everybody's gonna guard your first action or your best action pretty well in this league for the most part. So
Mm-hmm.
what are your counters? What are your wrinkles? What are you going to be able to go to when you need a bucket or when you need, when you've come in and saw pretty quickly, well, shoot, Coach Izzo knows we're going to run this action in early offense. Like, so
Yeah.
what are
You
you
get
going to go?
scouted well. Like it's companies out here making a whole lot of money scouting and synergy and Kimpom, and you got stuff like HDI that we subscribe to give you scout reports and all these analytics. So people know what you're doing. So
Yep.
like you say, you got to have counters to it, and you got to be able to execute those different wrinkles, especially when you're talking about defensively. Because it could be game to game or it could be personnel to personnel. Depending on if you got a rolling big or if you got a big who's a pick and pop threat. How are we guarding those? Are we switching?
Yep.
Are we still playing our drop coverage? Is it different? Do we got a guard who can get downhill but can't shoot, or a guy who can shoot but can't really drop? Like, how are we guarding those actions? So all of those things come into play when you game plan. So I know, as the year and the season goes on, you add pieces to your puzzle and you add stuff to your arsenal. So I'm sure they will continue to do that. But right now they, got to figure out what's the best lineups, what's the best way we can put our guys in the best position to be successful moving forward. And we'll see what they do, man. They got a lot of good coaches on the staff, so we'll see what they do.
Yeah, I agree. So good. That's good stuff right there. Michigan basketball, man.
There we go, man.
Had just played 2 games. We got 2 more games coming up. Who they have tonight? I think they have Tarleton State tonight, and then the next one is Virginia Tech. What you think about those? I think they're 2 what we would call get right games, right? Tarleton, they played Baylor. They played 2 other Texas schools. Tarleton I'm very familiar with. I coached against when I coached in the NAIA basketball right before they made the transition to D1. Yeah. They beat the crap out of us, but they've always been well coached. But they played 2 other Texas schools, Baylor and Sam Houston. They've lost by like a combined 100 points. So I'm expecting Michigan to get out there. I think they lost to Baylor by 68 or something like that. So I expect Michigan to, get out here and, push the pace and play a nice game tonight. Everybody should have a chance to play and see themselves have some success, work on some of the things that we spoke about earlier, and get ready for a road trip down to Blacksburg, where I think we should come out with another victory there too. I watched them get beat by Jacksonville State last night, so I think we have 2 very winnable games, get right games, if you will, for the couple guys who need some cleanup. So we'll see. What you think?
Yeah. For me, I mean, I agree with you, man. It's all about, like, against Tarleton. I think ultimately you overwhelm them with your size, your skill level, your talent. But what I want to see is turnovers and rebounding. Can we handle? They're gonna give you some early pressure. They might throw some different defenses at you. They're gonna jump passing lanes early. How can we come out and set the tone early on how we're gonna take care of the ball and execute offensively? And then from there, rebounding the ball. You're a bigger team. You should be a little bit more athletic and more size and more length. So turnovers and rebounds against Tarleton, and you ultimately pull away from this team. Virginia Tech, I think it's a great opportunity to go on the road and pick up a quality road win against an opponent, like you said, that you should have an opportunity to, if you play like you should play and you execute on those things and take care of the ball and rebound the ball, you should win that game as well and put yourself in position to go into Big Ten play. What, 6-1?
6-1.
Yes, and now we see what we're made of, and you got some good stuff under your belt. So I'm looking forward to seeing these next 2 games and seeing how these guys improve on the things that I know that the coaching staff is talking about and everybody in the world who follows Michigan basketball is talking about. So it's a good barometer, good test for these guys to show improve and kind of flip the switch on that turnover bug issue that they've been having.
Yeah, they'll have a chance tonight for sure. I think with Tarleton, they're going to come in and run kind of a older, I want to say old school, but a version of offense that we're kind of familiar with playing against the Washington. They're going to run the high-low actions into staggers on the weak side. So it's going to be very regimented and scripted. So they'll have a chance to play really good defense tonight and
Yes.
work on some rotations and even the level of physicality is going to be a good thing for them tonight, defending the offense that wants to go high, low, and play, in the paint and through the post. So that's going to be, going to be some good refs tonight. So
yeah, they got some bigs who's strong and athletic down there. Maybe not as tall and long, but those guys compete. Watching that film, definitely compete and duck in and got some athleticism to them. So it should be some good bump. But ultimately, like I said, we should pull away once we execute the way we need to execute.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right, what else we got on the menu today? Let's talk a little.
I know what you want to talk a little Michigan football recruiting, man, or what?
Let's talk some recruiting, man. What you think, man? We're in the midst of one of the biggest recruiting battles that we've seen Michigan go through since I would say Rashawn Gary a few years ago when he was the top player in the country, or Jabril Peppers or someone like that. It might be bigger than those two just because he's a local kid that's the number one player in the country. How many times have we seen that in our time involved with grassroots sports and the University of Michigan? So I think it's probably I'm going to do it. This is probably the biggest recruit in the history of Michigan football.
Wow, yeah, you putting a lot of sauce on that.
Yeah, that's bigger
than Rashawn Gary. That's bigger than dudes like Jabril Peppers and Rashawn Gary, number one defensive end tackle coming in.
Yes,
like a bona fide game changer.
I'm not saying he's I'm not. That's not me trying to say how good the kid is, right? But everything that comes with it, right? He's the number one player in the country. He's from Detroit. He's a quarterback, the most important position on the field, at a position that Michigan desperately needs an influx of talent, right? So, in my opinion, it is obviously the most important recruit of Sharon's short tenure. Obviously,
it's
right?
important.
But in the history of, because I can't remember a time where the number one recruit in the country was from Detroit.
Yeah, so that's right up there. And he playing at Belleville. That's 18 minutes down the road, from the big house. So, I mean, I think it's huge. I think the more so than getting him, I think the pursuit of him, is more important than if you ultimately get him or not. Right? Obviously, if you get him as a player and he turns out to be the type of player he is projected to be, then that's great. But I think that what's bigger than that is Michigan showing that hey, we'll do what it takes to get the players that we want, and we're not skimping on anything to make that happen. So I think that signals to everybody that we are in business, we're in play to do what we need to do to make this work. And what does that mean? NIL, right? What does that mean? NIL. Pay for play. Unfortunately, but fortunately for the guys.
No. Fortunately,
yes,
that's everybody. Hey, on this show, we support everybody getting paid.
I support people. I support people getting the bread for sure. I think the system, and that's a whole nother show. The system and the parameters around everything, how everything is work, is all jacked up. Yeah. It needs to be modified and fixed. But no, dudes getting their money. Get your money, my G. Get your money. I think what it signals is, Michigan is in the mix. And we are willing to do it. So it signals to everybody else other than Bryce Underwood, right? That, when it's time to get down, we can get down and compete with anybody on that NIL level. So whether we get them or not, I don't know. If you asking me personally, I'll probably say no.
Yeah. Okay.
That's my thought right now. Do we get them? No.
Okay.
Does it signal the right stuff to everybody else? Yes. Right? Would I spend 10.5 if that's the alleged number of money that he's been offered for a freshman quarterback?
No.
Out of high school?
As from what I've heard, no numbers have been exchanged between either party.
Okay, no numbers.
That 10.5 number was put out there by a salty journalist that has a vendetta with another journalist and is
Okay.
actively trying to sabotage the recruitment, it feels like. But that's a different conversation.
That's a different conversation.
That's a different
Okay.
conversation. But yeah, we don't want to put a target on nobody's back. That kid hasn't been offered $10.5 million by anybody. And that's
Okay. Well,
so
let me rephrase it. Yes.
yeah.
Whatever he's been offered, hopefully like I don't know if it's the right, if it's not 10.5, then okay. All right. So if you throw that number out there, if you throw 10.5 out there, I'm saying no, dude's not worth that. Right. I
So
don't know of any
no high
freshman
school.
who hasn't snapped it down in college is worth 10.5 million over for like that. That's asinine to me.
Yeah.
That's crazy. But if it's not that number, and if it's something else, and if we put a package together that makes him want to come here, hey, I love it. I would love to see him in a Michigan uniform and in a wing helmet and competing, right here in the big house. But we'll see. If I had to put my money on it, I don't know.
Okay.
My thumbs will be down.
All right.
So
We'll have to start betting cases of soda.
soda or something.
No, you don't even drink soda.
You smiling like you got a little insider trader information though. Like
Not at all. I'm just fascinated. I'm just fascinated by it because, like you said, it's Michigan's first real like entry into the NIL game, right? It's with the most important position on the field. And it's to be honest, like I don't know. It's just a fascinating case study, right? You've seen other kids that have come through. The kid at Tennessee, the Jalen Rashada kid, who's actually was suing Florida for the $13 million they agreement they had with like it's just like
he got that. He should have known he wasn't gonna get that anyway.
Yeah, like man, it's Gainesville, Florida. Where they gonna get 13 million?
$13 million. What are you talking about?
But nah, man, it's just fascinating for me as a guy that has I'm just like you, has kids that are coming up through the grassroots system and hopefully going to have chances to be Division I athletes. I'm just monitoring it and just soaking in all the information and all the data. Hey, I'm like you. I hope he ends up at Michigan, right? If I had to put my money on where he would, I wouldn't, because I have no information. Now I know people around him, but I don't. You never know what 17-year-olds are thinking, right? You never know I don't know his family. I don't know him. So for me to sit here and try to give a prediction on what I've read on the internet, right, would be kind of crazy. So I just think that for like you said, what it represents, what it signifies as far as where Michigan is willing to go to compete, I think he's quite possibly the most important recruit in the history of Michigan football. So
yeah, I mean it's up there because the timing of everything is up there. But if I'm him, I'm looking at it. I'm like, I mean, you got some issues, both programs, I would say, in different areas. But if I'm looking at Michigan, I'm like, okay, I don't even know who's going ultimately right now, who's going to be the OC, who's going to be the quarterback coach. Is questions on that for next year of you bringing people back or in. So it's like
it's the same at LSU.
It's the same, but different, I would say, in that sense, right? They've had a little bit more success, and they had the track record of, former Heisman winner last year. I know we had J.J. McCarthy, who's a dual threat quarterback. So, I mean, it's some similarities there, but I think some of those things, if I'm him, before I'm making a decision on my future, because he stated that development is really the key, right?
Yeah.
He wants to be a professional. So development at the quarterback position and surrounding him is the key. So if I don't know right now and it's looking like, possibly there may be changes in the program in those areas, then I want to know who the heck are those people who are going to be in charge of my development. So I wouldn't be quick to make any decision if I'm here until I know that, let alone based on some type of NIL package, because that's going to be there regardless for a kid of his stature.
I think the similarities between both programs that are competing for this kid right now are kind of crazy, right?
Yeah.
Like, I know LSU wants to hang their hat on where we had Jaden Daniels, where the guy who called plays the last 2 years is now at Notre Dame. He's not at LSU anymore.
There you go.
They have a first-year OC. We have a first-year OC. Both of them are struggling and have two fan bases that are in agreement that both of them should be retained for their current positions next year.
Yeah.
Right. So now if you do that, if both schools do that, they both will be looking for a quarterback coach as well as an OC.
As a coordinator.
So
yeah, and that levels the playing field.
Right. So now if I'm going to make a decision on December 4th or December 9th, whenever signing day is, and this is going to be the state of both programs, how do you make a decision? How do you not wait until January or February, whenever the second signing date is, right? Or how do you not, choose to, stay home and all the factors that come with being a hometown hero and the Michigan brand and network. And like, if I'm going to take a chance, I'm going to go ahead and take a chance right here at the crib. They both, I know they both have a commitment. One is fresh off a national championship. The other, they both have a commitment to excellence in football. Yeah. So I know both of them going to hire good coaches. So, if it was me, I would probably choose to stay home.
Yeah. But sometimes staying at the crib ain't the best thing, man. When, folks you grown up with can get to you a little quicker and there's more pressure, more influences, more things coming at you when you're at the crib, more so than if you go away. Then people got to, either travel to get to you, got to call you. You can, I can press mute on that phone, somebody call me. But if I'm in town and people can get to you and it's a little different pressures and parameters. But, for him, it seems as if he's got a good support group around him. So I don't think, that would be a major issue. But like you said, it's nothing that can beat that Michigan brand, the network, and the type of stage that you'll be put on, putting that wing helmet on. So hopefully, I'm not going to count on it. But if it does happen, I'm sure I'll be ecstatic, and I'm sure our fan base would be extremely ecstatic about having an opportunity to watch him grow in a Michigan uniform.
Hey, for all the money they talking, Chris, this joker can hire a private chef and eat all the gumbo and
that's all you want is some Southern cuisine. We can send somebody up here to cook that for you.
Hey, I got all the recipes.
You got the recipes. We can get that to the chefs over at Schembeckler, man. Hey, y'all need to get that gumbo in there. It's crawfish. If that's all you want.
Nah, good stuff, man. Nah, that's a fascinating case study for where recruiting will go in the future, and how crazy this stuff is going to get. So, good stuff, man. So I think our last topic for today is Michigan football, the actual game. Right, we're 5-5 right now. Got a chance to get bowl eligible this weekend.
Got to do it.
Senior day, so got a chance to send the seniors off the right way. A lot of things going into this weekend while we need coming off a bye week. Coming off the first bye week was pretty rough. So what do you think about this weekend, man? What do you think is going to go happen this weekend?
It's a must win by any means necessary. Scratch, claw, plead, beg, whatever we need to do. Whoever we need to play, this is like one of those things where you have to get this one with all of the stuff you said. Coming off a bye, 5-5, bowl eligible, senior night. We have to get it done. So the guys got to play with a spirit of getting it done. The coaches have to coach with a spirit of competing and winning by any means necessary. And they just got to execute better than they've ever executed before, right? So you just got to continue to build and grow off of it. But this is by any means, scratch, claw, fight, plead, beg, whatever you need to do to get this win, you need to do that. And because this is a very winnable game, and this team needs to set the tone, like you say, to be bowl eligible. And I know a lot of people talked about how important that is, especially for a team that's young and struggling, to get those extra practices at the end of the year. I think that's a huge thing. For the development of this program and the long-term trajectory of where we're going. So by any means, man, scratch, plead, cheat, steal. No, don't cheat, steal. Don't do that. We don't need no more scandals or allegations.
Leave us alone.
Bleed and scratch and claw and fight. Lead the cheating and the stealing of Whatever you stealing.
leave that to somebody else.
Yeah.
But no, I agree 100%, man. It's a game where they have to come out, and this is the bowl game.
Yeah.
Right. This is the bowl game, right? Hopefully the last 2 weeks they've treated, today like, they playing in the bowl game. And so if they're able to come out and, like you said, execute, get a little better play from the offensive line and from the quarterback position, they'll give themselves a chance to win. The defense will be fine. I think against this Northwestern team, it's not. They have a couple, areas for concern that can give you some problems with AJ Henning and the quarterback being a mobile quarterback. But for the most part, man, I think our defense will be fine. It's just as long as our offense don't put them in bad positions throughout the game.
Yeah, they got to do enough. You got to do enough.
Be normal. Just be normal.
Don't be just trash money records. Just be normal. Move the ball enough so these guys the defense can put you in positions to be successful with short fields and takeaways and stuff. So, this is kind of that, like you say, bowl game or Super Bowl. But it's a tough thing to do because you got more games after that. So what that's signaling is what? Do we feel like we can't win those games?
No. I'm saying,
what is that signaling to everybody
right now?
Yeah, I mean, the next game is the most important, right?
Yeah.
So we're not saying we can't beat them other teams on our schedule. We won't mention their names right now. Especially
you won't ever hear me say we can't beat anybody. Especially not them. You know what's in Ohio.
Yeah.
Well, the Charlie Brown bowl, y'all know what I said.
Why you talking like the parent?
But nah, man, I think it's a week-to-week thing for the seniors. Like, hey, man, we can guarantee ourselves a bowl game if we win tomorrow or win this weekend, right? If you don't get it done, then you approach the same thing with the Ohio State game. I just think if you want to guarantee that you're going to have more games after the last game of the regular season, you got to win the next one, which is Northwestern. So that's the reason why I said I would, I should approach it like it was a bowl game.
No, 100%. By any means, you put that on a T-shirt for tomorrow for this weekend. By any means, we got to get it done.
You got a prediction for me?
Man, prediction, I would say 24-17.
Oh, you want to shootout?
Michigan. 24. I mean, that's a couple scores here and there.
Hey, for that, that's a shootout for them two teams.
For us, that's a shootout. 24-17.
All right. Now I was thinking somewhere more lines, somewhere around there, maybe 21-10.
Okay.
24-13, some weird score of that nature where we but I don't really see us. I remember so early in the season someone said we have to score 28 points if we're gonna give ourselves a chance to win. Have we scored 28 points in a game this year?
Off the top of my head, I had to do my research. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm about to say I had to do my
research. My research. I don't think so.
Well, I think some more lines are 21-10.
Yeah.
24-13, 24 somewhere now. I can't see them scoring 2 touchdowns on us in the big house. So
not 2. Okay, we'll see.
That's
hopefully what the weather looking like, man. That's what you always got. What the weather looking like, man. We got a little. I know you down south in Georgia. We got a little snow out on the ground this morning, man. What we looking at?
Oh shoot!
Saturday. Oh no, we good. 47. That nice crisp, late fall day. 47. But yeah, today we had a little snow, man. Oh, that man, go.
I missed that.
Yeah.
No, I don't. But that's good, man. I got some snow, man. Hey, I might go play some golf today.
Yeah. You lose the ball out there today with a white one. No on the ground. Gotta love the Midwest, baby.
Yes, sir. But that's a great show, man. Great show for today. I think we covered all the topics.
Yes, sir.
We will reconvene after the next couple basketball games or next game or something. Hopefully, man, we get another great episode in and give the people what they want.
Bring this good hot fire content to you, man. So if you like it, Subscribe to it, comment on it, all that stuff, man. We see it, we feed off of it. We want to give the people what they want. So, man, until next time on the Rabbit Hole Podcast with Chris Hunter and Daniel Horton, we'll see you guys next time, man. Peace.
Peace.